All right, let's get into it. So, Oprah had an iconic, legendary interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And there were revelations, naturally, which was the point of the interview, to get their side out. And I'm going to start with the revelation that made Oprah go, "What? What?" Oprah needs an Oscar for her performance in this interview because Oprah thoroughly understands racism and colorism. She dealt with that as a child. One of the most heartbreaking things I've ever heard Oprah say is she said how when she was growing up, I think when she was staying with her grandmother, I can't really remember who it was that she was living with, but they would make Oprah sleep outside on the porch in the back because she had the darkest skin tone of everyone in her family or of everyone in that household. So she thoroughly understands colorism. And she was just like, "What?" As if it was a new concept. And I did watch Oprah on CBS this morning. The following day, they aired clips that hadn't been shown in the original interview. Because the original interview, Oprah said, was 3 hours. And then what aired was like, however, an hour and 44 minutes or whatever the breakdown was. So everything was not obviously in the original interview that aired or in the portion that aired. So when Oprah was on CBS this morning, Oprah explained that the reason why she was shocked about the Archie skin tone comments is because she was actually not reacting to the racism that Meghan Markle dealt with specifically about her unborn child. Oprah said that she was shocked that Meghan told her that. So, I mean, Oprah, the moment Meghan said that, Oprah was like, "Okay, this is ratings gold." In her mind, she was just like orgasming because she knew that was going to be insane, right? The headlines for that. So, what Meghan Markle said was that there were several, quote, "concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he was born." And Meghan was referring to Archie. "As a Black person, this is especially humorous because it's as though the person or people in the royal family seem to be a little clueless on how genetics work. Archie is not going to be coming out um, being very dark like Daniel Kulea, however you say his name. He made a joke about that on SNL when he hosted. But yes, Meghan Markle is basically a white woman with brown hair and brown eyes and freckles. And Prince Harry is a redhead with blue eyes. Y'all don't got to be worrying about the skin tone of the baby. you just That's why it was just very entertaining to know like y'all are so racist that you're throwing common sense out the window with that one. Um, Another huge revelation, and I only have a few things. I have a list of about 9 things that I'm going to go over because you saw the interview, I take it, and it's been talked about. This is just my 2 cents, obviously, and that's the entire point of this episode and ideally every single podcast episode I have is to just be off the cuff, say what I want. Um, so Meghan also spoke about how the royal family throws parties at the palace for the tabloids. The royal family throwing parties for the fucking tabloids should have been more of a headline after the interview, and it was mostly swept under the rug for God knows whatever reason. But can you imagine being part of a family that is in bed with your enemy? And when you're like, "Y'all are besties, can you please clear this rumor up?" They're like, "Nope, we're not going to do that." So I think that should have been given more attention. And I learned after the interview that the royal family has close alliances with the media because so that the media is able to paint a positive picture of the royals to justify having this monarchy which a lot of taxpayer dollars go to, and a lot of the people who live there, they don't want the royal family, they don't want the monarchy, and so they really need the royal family really needs the positive coverage to justify existing and keeping the tradition going. And that was so fascinating to me to learn after the interview and the commentary post interview. I had no idea. That is so crazy. It seems very corrupt. Um, but that was shocking. So that was a really big takeaway that I felt should have been given much more coverage. She has a lot of haters, and I follow some accounts on Instagram. For example, I follow Vanity Fair, and every time they talk about the royals, people in the comments are so crazy every time they talk about Meghan. And it was literally a few days ago, someone was getting into it with me on a totally different Instagram, talking about how Meghan, there were 13 lies in that interview, and how, I think it was like 11 or 13 lies, and how Meghan had 13 trips when she was a royal, which means her passport wasn't taken. And I responded, I said, Meghan never said that she did not take any trips. She said that her passport had been taken. Those are two different things. We all know she took trips. We saw the photos, we'd hear about it. But she is so extremely polarizing for people. She triggers people so much. I remember hearing or listening to a podcast years ago when Meghan was engaged, and the host went to London, and she would be like, "Oh, the host of the podcast is a Meghan Markle stan," and she was like, "The royal wedding's coming up. Are you excited?" And she would talk to the people in the UK, and this one girl was like, "Absolutely not. Meghan is, quote, not right for the crown." And the person and that same lady was hyping Kate Middleton, which is crazy to me. But with Kate Middleton, she comes from wealth. She's British. She's white. She's bony. And she's aging horrifically. But for whatever reason, that's what they think is great. And Kate definitely paid her dues. She dated Prince William forever before he wifed her. But with Meghan, here comes a stunning, confident, biracial woman who does not come from money. And I think that has really worked against Meghan, right? She did not come from money. So then it's very easy for them to run with the negative of her being a clout chaser and money hungry and fame hungry, because she didn't come from money like Kate Middleton. It's like, why can't you just look at her as a role model of someone who grew up poor and worked their way up through Hollywood? And then it's not like she forced Prince Harry to wife her. Prince Harry fell for her. That should be respected. Her drive should be respected. I watched an interview, or not an interview, a speech that Meghan gave. I feel like it was on Larry King, but I cannot remember where it was. But Meghan said how she drove to this acting audition, and she was so broke that her car door would not open. And because it did not open, she had to crawl in and out. She had to crawl out of the car through the back window. And she said how she parked really far because she didn't want anyone to see her. And can you imagine how that feels, being that broke and struggling that badly? And you're supposed to walk in a room, pretend to be confident and happy, pretend like you have money, like your car isn't falling apart in the parking lot. So, I mean, listen, when it comes to Meghan, I'm definitely on her side. And when I have to deal with these haters, like I said, I was talking to one online, and he was like, "Oh, she took 13 trips, blah, blah, blah." What I'm not finna do is talk to a white person about whether or not Meghan faced racism. Because some of the commenters, some of the haters are trying to act as though racism doesn't exist. And that's a very common belief among bigots. It just makes them feel better. It makes them feel good to say that racism does not exist, that it's like fan fiction, and to justify the mistreatment. And we all know it is par for the course. If you want to be a royal, they do come for you. The tabloids come for you, but they came for Meghan so viciously. And I wish that in the interview they would have shown more headlines, because I'll never forget a headline I saw where they said that Meghan Markle was trying to kill Princess Charlotte because they said that Princess Charlotte was allergic to the flower that Meghan Markle chose for Charlotte to hold as one of the flower girls in the wedding. That's cute. They forgot to mention that Kate Middleton used those very same fucking flowers. It was crazy. It was crazy. Do not quote me on these facts. But it was something about how Meghan tried to kill Princess Charlotte because she's allergic, and they were saying Kate used the same fucking flowers. Like it's just it goes way beyond the avocado toast that Oprah mentioned. And the truth of the matter is, with us living in the States, we didn't see these crazy fucking headlines every single day. But I remember when Meghan and Harry were dating, I hopped on over to the Daily Mail to read some stories. About 2 times I did this, and the people in the comments were losing their mind, begging Prince Harry to dump Meghan, saying Meghan is a Black American. She's a Black American. She doesn't like you. She doesn't love you. She's never going to give you children. She's too old. And just being so wild in the comments. And you can't tell me that shit ain't rooted in racism and classism. You just can't. So, moving on, I wish that the interview would have shown Meghan speaking about her father and her half-sister. I will say that Meghan's father is enough of a reason for her to leave the royal family. Because now when Meghan's dad, Thomas, speaks out, Meghan can respond. You remember when Oprah said, "Were you silent or silenced?" And she was silenced. And guess what? She's not silenced anymore. So that's good, because her dad, her bitch ass, pussy ass dad, he's never been silenced. He's just been paid. He's been paid to open his mouth, say the same thing. Meghan should be talking to me, slamming Meghan. And it's like he won't stop. Meghan's father is so incredibly embarrassing. And he's so consistent. He straight up came out and said, the royal family, I don't think the royal family is racist. That's what he said after an interview. It's like, but you never went to the UK because you were so busy faking a heart attack before her fucking wedding. So you can't really comment on the people that you ain't never seen. He's so crazy. I feel so bad for her. And then her half sister, she said she met her twice. Like literally met the bitch twice when she was like 10 and then like 15 years ago. Like Meghan Markle's sister is totally completely insane. And that was a clip that Oprah shared on CBS This Morning. She was explaining how as soon as Meghan started dating Harry, Samantha changed her name back to Markle, her last name back. I mean, guess what? And then I heard something about, no, she changed her name back to Markle years, before. It does not matter how on the nose, how exactly correct or how incorrect some of the statements are in the interview. What I think is most important here is that Meghan was attacked and she wasn't protected. So I don't give a fuck about titles. Like that's something that people are so worked up about. They're like, she just wanted a title. She wanted a title for her son. She was just there for titles, and they moved to Canada, and then you lose protection. It was so much more than that. It was that if she was, I don't think this was about titles. I think it was just about the fact that here she is, and it's nonstop. It's nonstop with the media. If the media wasn't out for blood and attacking her the way that they were persistently, I think that they would have been able to stay. But there was just no end in sight. And so to me, it makes sense. And again, even if this was, or whatever the criticisms are, that has nothing to do with the way that the media went after her. So then, as far as Harry and Prince Charles, first of all, I think that Prince Charles is the one who commented, or who is most concerned about Archie's skin tone, even though Prince Charles is beet red, and Prince Charles needs to worry about his skin tone. He's blotchy as hell. I think it was Prince Charles, because William has 3 kids. William don't give a fuck. You really think William gives a fuck? Honestly. And I think Princess Diana raised Harry and William to care about others in a way that you could understand how Prince Charles just can have that disconnect with having someone in the family who's biracial. I think Prince Charles would care about skin tone and Prince William wouldn't. Across the board, I heard everybody saying they think it was Prince Charles, but I did hear one person saying they think it was William. It's like, no, that William's not that invested in the first fucking baby that Meghan is about to have. He has 3 kids. He has other things to do. But it's like with Meghan and Harry, you got to remember, it's like they have philanthropy in common. And guess what? They also have in common that they're dads. They got tension with their dads. I think that that's something that kind of allows them to bond. They really do have that in common. I really hope everything gets repaired, but I do think it will be strained for some time. And I believe that Prince Harry really needs to get his ass over to the UK as quickly and as often as possible, because I don't feel like trying to mend fences from across the pond is the best solution. And although they praised the Queen, I really wonder about if they permanently fractured their relationship with the Queen given the nature of the interview. And I hope not. So I did hear some people say they didn't think Oprah did a good job and she should have really asked a lot more questions about the firm and the institution and whatnot. That's a very funny criticism to me, because go ahead and book Meghan and Harry and go ahead and do a better interview. Right? So it's just people, it's just funny. I am so fascinated, and I will be forever fascinated with a lot of criticism that public figures face, because a lot of it is very predictable and very humorous to me. And it's like, when you are unhappy, that's when you really go after other people. Speaking of which, it's time. Drum roll, please. Boo. It's time for me to talk about Piers Morgan's psychotic, obsessed, crazy, hypersensitive, weird, narcissist, entitled, elitist, classist, obsessed ass. Piers Morgan met Meghan Markle and they spent a few hours together drinking, and then she met Harry right after she hung out with Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan has been trying to hit the bitch up ever since. Not understanding, for whatever godforsaken reason, that Meghan Markle is dating one of the most famous men on the planet, which therefore means she no longer feels comfortable drinking it up with you in a bar when it's your job to get on television and your job to write articles about the royal family. Where's the mystery there, Piers? Where is it? Because if the tables were turned, you would not talk to someone whose job it is to report on the person that you're dating. So Meghan cut Piers off, and then Piers has been on this campaign to discredit and insult Meghan ever since. He said he doesn't believe anything she said in the interview. He said that if she did try to reach out about being suicidal, that those people should be named. He said if people did talk about the skin tone, those people should be named. Why do they gotta give names for anything? Why can't they just say, this is what happened to me? And why should they feel comfortable giving names when they hope to repair the relationship that Prince Harry has with his family? How the fuck does it make sense? Let me call these people out and try to make amends at the same fucking time, when they never had to open their mouth and say shit in the first place. But they did. And so you got to take what they're going to give you. You have to learn how to respect boundaries, Piers. And Piers Morgan, the father of 4 children, would never want a man to relentlessly scrutinize and target one of his daughters. People they're unable to see sometimes how the fucked up shit they're doing, they would not want done to them or their offspring. And Meghan is pregnant. And when she was pregnant the first time, she was suicidal. And that still didn't stop Piers from talking shit. which therefore led to 40,000 complaints against him on his morning show where he was saying he didn't believe her. I was one of those motherfuckers complaining. I was tweeting. I was like, look, you need to fire his bitch ass. I tweeted to his morning show and the Daily Mail. I said he needs to be gone because this is so disturbing. You don't come for someone who is explaining that they were suicidal and saying you don't believe it. You are hurting people who are suicidal and afraid to come out and say it. So his bitch ass, he needed to fucking go. So he resigned, supposedly, or got fired. It don't matter how he left. What matters is that he's gone. But his obsession with Meghan continues. He's continuing to do interviews. And it's scary. It's scary to watch someone be obsessed with you and just determined to perpetually speak poorly of you. It's so frightening to watch. And he is able to get on any station, any channel, he's able to use very big platforms to spew his hatred. And that's troublesome and bothersome and worrying because this is exactly what Meghan is trying to move on from. And there's people like Piers and Meghan's estranged family that they don't want to stop. So I love the memes that came out of the interview. And I think Oprah is incredible what she does. Since this is my podcast, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about what's huge or what somebody thinks I should talk about, because one of the things I really despise is when a podcast host goes, I don't care about this. I don't care about this. I really don't care about this. I don't give a fuck about this. I don't care. I think it's tacky, and I can understand doing it rarely, but you don't gotta start the conversation about something after you say you don't give a fuck about it like 8 times first. So I think in order for me not to be like, I don't care about this 20 times an episode, is to just not fucking talk about what I don't care about. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and DM the shit out of me, right? If you want me to talk about something, I'm up for taking ideas 100%. I will see you soon. Thanks.